In the past 24 years of my life, I don't think I've ever seen India collectively suffering to this magnitude. It is devastating, whatever is happening at this point. And whosoever is behind this chaos is straight up being ruthless and brutal. At times like these, it is not irrational or unreasonable for you to feel completely drained and incapacitated, even if the pandemic hasn't gotten personal for you so far. Although I do suppose that population to be statistically really low at this point. And if the damn virus has gotten personal for you, I'm so sorry. My heart reaches out to you. Why do I feel compelled to be sharing something with you at this point? Well, I think I've been contemplating the idea of suffering for a while now. Back in March 2020, when the pandemic had just hit and we were all sort of forced to stay confined within the four walls of our homes, I remember holding a conversation with one of my friends and telling them that this feels like the Holocaust and I must be Viktor Frankl in a concentration camp. Who was Viktor Frankl, you ask? Well, Viktor Frankl was an early 20th century neurologist and a psychiatrist who, along with his family in 1942, was arrested and sent to a concentration camp. He ultimately ended up surviving the Holocaust. He was out of that inhumane and disgusting space, though his family did not. I know, it was unreasonable for me to be comparing a pandemic that had just hit and wasn't even as devastating as it is today to the Holocaust. But you know what? I think I planted a seed in my mind that day, which was the idea of meaning in suffering. How did Frankl survive the Holocaust? How did Frankl survive as a prisoner of war? How did he survive every day with the anxiety of today might be the day that he would be sent to the gas chamber? Well, he believed that life is a quest for meaning. He was able to survive the concentration camp because he was incessantly stimulated by nature's "he who has a why to live for can almost bear anyhow." Most of the prisoners of the concentration camp died, not because of the lack of basic nutrition and food, but because they lacked something to live for. Frankl founded the psychotherapeutic intervention of logotherapy, which stands on the premise that one's search for meaning is the primary motivational force that drives one to keep walking the path of life. Life entails suffering. No one can lead a life that is devoid of pain. We cannot live life with the hope that we never experience any form of pain. Hence, we know that it is inevitable. We're all living at odds with our external realities at this point. And all of that is happening right now is out of our control. It sucks. It really, truly sucks. And there's no denying that. But there is something that is in our control. And that is how we respond to our suffering. How we respond to something that makes even the most religious of us question the existence of God. Frankl believed that between every stimulus and response is the space where choice resides. This is the space where you choose how you respond to an event. This is exactly the space where you choose how you lead your life. Do you let it take over you or do you take over it? Do you adopt the narrative of "my life is so unkind to me" and reinforce that narrative by continuously living that narrative versus "I think it's time for me to be kind to my life"? Acceptance of this suffering is essential for one to find any meaning in it. You know how Frankl defined despair? He said that despair is suffering without any meaning. When I talk about meaning, I'm not talking about a revolutionary soul purpose that dawns upon you out of the blue in the middle of nowhere in your life, and with that energy you're able to move mountains. No, that is cool, but no, I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about what makes your life worth living. I'm talking about the people, the elements that add meaning to your life. Your hopes, your desires, your ambitions, what you want to fulfill in this lifetime. Everything that gives you meaning. It is what makes you look forward to the future. Because you know what? The moment you stop looking forward to the future is exactly the moment you enter this existential vacuum where nothing in your life is worth enduring the pain that today brings to you. Listen, I'm not asking you to be positive about any of this. This is bloody chaotic. Please grieve. Grieving is essential at this point. Do not just grieve for yourself, but grieve for others. Grieve collectively. But remember that hope is integral. Feel your suffering, but know there is a meaning to it. Know that you can endure it. With faith in your meaning, you'd be surprised to discover the extent to which you can persevere through all of this. Frankl called this a tragic case of optimism. Even in troubling times, we have to remain optimistic to the possibility of a future. Once you find your meaning, your suffering, though it is immensely painful, and I'm not denying that, but this suffering would become worthy of the resilience that it demands from you. I am sending you meaning and strength. Take care of yourselves.